G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and watching my content. And as always, it is my pleasure and the absolute privilege to talk about the greatest sport in the world, rugby. And finally, after many years of waiting, the mighty Springboks will be facing Sir Eddie Jones's Wallabies in South Africa at Lofters-Versfeld, a place where the Springboks have never lost the Wallabies. Finally, this historical test match will happen this weekend. Now, before we get too excited about this match, there was rumors circulating all over the internet on the weekend that the Springboks will be announcing the dreaded B team to go against the Wallabies this weekend. So I waited, and finally the Springboks just a few hours ago have announced the team against the Wallabies. And yes, it is going to be the famous B team of the mighty Springboks playing against the Wallabies. Initially, I thought I was just going to come on and talk about how Rassie Erasmus is disrespecting history. He's going to lose for the first time ever at Lofters-Versfeld to the Wallabies. He's disregarding the integrity of the rugby championship. He's, all sorts of things, right? He's disrespecting the fans. He's spitting on all the fans that bought tickets for 3 months in advance, that sold out the stadium. And then I thought about it. Hey, hang on. The Springboks will be playing the All Blacks next week in New Zealand. And the All Blacks is currently in South America, getting ready to play Argentina. So having the Springboks core players extra time to adjust to the time difference would actually means that the Springboks will have a better time, adjust the time to New Zealand time than the All Blacks, because the All Blacks will be adjusting their time zones after returning from South America. So this will actually give the Springboks a huge advantage next week against the All Blacks, because they will have adjusted to the time difference much better than the All Blacks will be. And also, this so-called B team is actually not that bad, because Rassie Erasmus has taken all the criticism that was levied against them last year against Wales, last year in the November International Test Series, for putting on Joseph Dueba. Oh my god, what a horrible player he was, right? Oh my god, they're throwing away history against Wales. But this team has gone through a lot of that last year. So this B team actually has gone through a lot of adversity, and it's actually not that bad, because Rassie Erasmus had given them time on the field last year under very similar circumstances. And because of that time investment to these players, this team is looking really good. Despite it being the dreaded B team, I don't see it as a walkover for the Wallabies. And this really, if the Springboks beats the Wallabies this weekend, this will truly show what a genius Rassie Erasmus actually is, right? So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look at the Springboks team announcement for this weekend. Starting from the fullback, number 15, Willie le Roux. Again, a guy that was going in and out of the team. He's probably the best fullback in the world right now. Last year, he has been tremendously good. Not playing just the fullback, but he's been able to slot into the center position for the Springboks, which, by the way, is really, really crucial for this game, because Willie le Roux playing as a second playmaker in center position under the 15 jersey means that Andre Esterhuizen is able to be slotted in at 12, because he's not really, and he doesn't really have that responsibility of being a playmaker at a 12 anymore. He can just take the ball and run it, because Willie le Roux will be the one that's doing the second playmaking role for the Springboks in open wide field. So again, this is something that the Springboks has been working on last year in the November Test Series, and and this is starting to show the results. So Willie le Roux, number 15, number 14, Canan Moodie has been kind of out of the favor for the team, and also when he was in the team, he has been quite good as well. Kanan Moody, number 14. Lukanyu the co-captain for this game, comes in number 13 and out at center. And Andreas Heisen, as we talked about, has really a lot of that pressure of being like a second playmaker alleviated because Ville Leroux has been taking upon that role. Last year, for the Springboks out of the 15 jersey, Kurdi Atlensa, by far the best winger probably in the world right now. Absolute huge ball carrier, ball runner, and hugely important under the high ball as well for the Springbok. He's basically the second Cheslin Kobe, and has consistently been selected over Makazula Mapimpi. So he's actually a starting player now for the Springboks, despite, you know, Makazula Mapimpi, the veteran, is the one that's going overseas for the All Blacks clash. Manny LeBlanc has been really good for the Springboks as well. He's done tremendously well this year in the URC. So finally, you know, getting that starting number 10 jersey due to an injury to Handre Pollard is really something that the Springboks really kind of like has been preparing for quite a while now. Cobus Reinacher comes in number 9, and number 8, Dwayne the Rock Vermeulen gets the second captain position for the, I think he's actually the main captain. Lukamu is the vice captain, I guess. Peter Sepp du Toit, number 7 in the blindside flanker position. Marco van Staden gets number 6 jersey, who has been tremendously well for the Springboks for a number of years now. He actually was out of favor of the Springboks last year, but he did really well for the Springboks during the Lions tour, so it's good to see him back in the fold once again due to injuries to Sia Khaleesi. Marvin Norrie comes in number 5. John Klein will be the first player in the history of the rugby to play for 2 Tier 1 nations. He has already played for the Ireland 4 years ago, and he has fallen out of favor with obviously Andy Farrell. And yeah, he's switched back to his original, his home nation of the South African, and he will be debuting for the Springboks this weekend after already debuted for the Irish a number of years ago. Franz Malherbe comes in the tight head position for the Springboks. Bunging and Bunambi and Ox Nche will be finishing the front row position. Ox Nche actually has been announced that he suffered an injury to his chest during training, so he will be actually replaced by Stephen Kitsoff, a number 1 jersey. So the front row is actually the starting front row for the Springboks. It's probably the strongest Springboks starting front row possible, with Stephen Kitsoff added to the number 1 jersey. Replacements, we got Joseph Duiba, who has been doing quite well for the Stormers, who came second in the URC. Thomas Dutoy also has done really well for the Springboks. There was some talks that his scrummaging has been tremendously good. Vincent Carr comes in number 18. Big return for the Springboks. RG Snyman, who's been injured for a couple of years. Yes, he's been sidelined for a couple of years due to an injury. He's returned for Munster and won the URC with Munster. He came back like just a few weeks before the final. Not a few, maybe like 1 or 2 months before the finals, and he just looked like it didn't miss a beat. So RG Snyman is a huge return for the Springboks, and yeah, he's just unbelievably good. And the Springboks really missed him for the last couple of years whilst he was injured. Evan Roos, the young guy who's touted to be the future of the Springboks, loose forwards, comes in number 20. Dion Ferree will be the third, I guess, hooker if Joseph Duiba couldn't get his line out thrown correctly, and also the additional loose forward for the Springboks. Grant Williams will be a backline cover, and the greatest Springboks in the history of the Springboks, Damien Willemse, will be back at his World Cup winning number 23. I think he was playing number 23, or did he play 15? I think he played 15. Did he play 15 for the World Cup in 2019? But anyway, he's the best number 23 in the world. No, I'm pretty sure he was number 23 for the Springboks in the Rugby World Cup. But anyway, Damien Willemse back at his reserve jersey, covering the entire backline single-handedly, is quite impressive. So with that being said, the traveling group to New Zealand will be, I guess Nche will be going to New Zealand now instead of Kitsoff, because Kitsoff has filled in for Nche. Malcolm Marks, Ibn Esbeth is having a bit of injury, so he's not gonna be starting anyway because of injury. So he might, I don't know, depends how he goes for his injury. So he's not really 100% anyway. Lou Diaga, Franco Mostert, John Luke Dupreez, Huaga Smith, Faf de Klerk, Cheslin Kobe, Makazula Mapimbi, Damien Dilendi, Jesse Crew, and Sia Khaleesi will all be heading off to South Africa. Out of all these players that's going to South Africa, obviously Eben Nesbeth and Sia Khaleesi is injured. Damien Dilendi, and arguably Faf de Klerk and Cheslin Kobe is like the only kind of like definite starting players for the Springboks. The rest of them are not really like 100% guaranteed 18 players. Parker Smith usually comes off the bench. Franco Mostert comes off the bench as well. Lou Diaga on and off the bench and starting. Eben Smith, like I said, is injured. He's a starting player. Malcolm Marks, again, coming off the bench, but he's been tremendous. So yeah, outside of maybe you can argue Malcolm Marks and Damien Dilendi, really the team is about as strong as you can field for the Springboks going into this weekend against the Wallabies. With that being said, like we talked about, Kisop will be stepping in for the Ox Inche, who suffered a chest injury during training just after the team announcement. Also, the let's forget about this one. Also, the Handre Pollard has a bit of a calf injury, and he will be missing the rest of the Rugby Championship. So there's hope that he might be good for the warm-up games in the World Cup warm-up games in August. But yeah, he will not be playing the 3 matches in the Rugby Championship as of reports today. So Handre Pollard is out, quite a big loss for the Springboks. Good news for the Springboks fans is that Sia Khaleesi is on track to return from an ACL injury and surgery to lead the Springboks, potentially returning for the warm-up matches for the Rugby World Cup, but he is on track to return to play at the Rugby World Cup. That is really, really, really good news for the Springboks. Next up, we've got Hogard. Derek Hogard was reported last week was in hospital due to some, I think it was some breathing issues, but he's come out of the coma and has been released from ICU, so he's good. What's his name? Derek Hogard, the former international test player for the Springboks, and obviously the history is on the line this weekend in Pretoria. The Wallabies has never beaten the Springboks at Loafers versus Field. And Eddie Jones, up just before he was leaving for South Africa, basically came out and said, we're going to be playing a new Australian style of rugby. I don't really know what that means, because what is the Australian style of rugby? Like, what has Eddie Jones identified that characterizes Australian style? Because I don't really know. Is it going to be, like, to be honest, I've been watching a lot of the old, successful era of the Australian rugby, even going back to when Alan Jones was the coach in the 1980s, where where they beat the All Blacks at Eden Park. That was a lot of kicking. That was a lot of kicking game back then. And Eddie Jones likes to play a second 5A style himself, so he likes to have like a playmaker out of the 12 position. So potentially having someone like James O'Connor at 12 will be something that he would be considered, Eddie Jones style of rugby. Potentially we're going to see that this weekend, but not too sure. We'll have to wait and see when the Wallabies announces their team. So like I said already, the All Blacks will be in South America to play the Argentinians at Mendoza. This will be at Malbec, and this will be, you'll be one of the few, what do they call it? This will be a test that's outside of, what is it called? They normally play in, Buenos Aires. Normally they play there, but it's very rare that the All Blacks playing outside of the Buenos Aires. So this will be a 32-year wait since last time they played in Mendoza. And the All Blacks also suffering a few injuries themselves going into this match. Sean Stevenson has been promoted to the starting lineup of players. The team has not been announced. Will Jordan and Lester Fainga'a-Nuku has been sent back or has been kept out of the team, traveling team. Will Jordan has some issues, precautionary. They haven't really said what the issue was, but Lester Fainga'a-Nuku has a bit of a calf injury, so both players will be left behind for the All Blacks. And I think there was, Fletcher New also has a toe injury, will be left behind. And the Hurricanes prop was caught up, an uncapped cop was caught up to fill in for Fletcher Newell. Tavita Mafileo was called in to fill in for Fletcher Newell for the All Blacks. So last week there was also an announcement of a World League to be added starting in 2026. So this World League will go every 2 years between the Lions Tour and the Rugby World Cup. So the schedules will be Lions Tour, World League, Rugby World Cup, World League, Lions Tour, World League, Rugby World Cup, World League, so on and so forth. So every 2 years there will be a World League. And World League will consist of 12 teams, 6 from the Six Nations, 4 from the Rugby Championship, and then 2 additional invitation teams that will be added into the format, making up 12 teams for the World League. And also there will be a tier 2 nation for the World League as well, and there will be a relegation between the top league, which consists of 6 nation teams and Rugby Championship teams, and the second tier team. So potentially we could see teams like Wales or maybe even Australia being relegated down to the tier 2 World League, and then some potential teams like Georgia, maybe whatever, being invited, or maybe Fiji or whatever being invited, going up into the first tier division. So as of now, the 2 invitational teams is only a guess who it's going to be for the starting, the initial World League competition in 2026. Potentially Japan, potentially Georgia being added as invitational teams. But yeah, go after the invitational teams for the first initial rounds in 2026. The teams will be done by relegation going into following years. So yeah, that's something interesting to look forward to, filling out the calendars every year, because the July Test series at the moment is a little bit dry in my opinion. There's really a lack of, same with the November Test, right? There's really a lack of, I guess, there's a little bit of lacking of stake in those games where teams are just teams are kind of just trying out things, preparing themselves for the Rugby Championship, preparing themselves for the Six Nations, so on and so forth. So with this World League added a bit more spice, a bit more prestige in those games, and a bit more interest hopefully for the rugby going into the future. Jack Goodhue has been confirmed to sign with Castres Olympique in France. He will be leaving the All Blacks, but he has not selected for the All Blacks at all. And then also there was a investigation levied against Johnny Sexton last week that so basically in the finals of the European Champions League, like at halftime, there was some reports that Johnny Sexton had a bit of a mouthful with the referee. There was a lot of a lot of off-field incidents happening, like in the change rooms at halftime. And this was basically reported that Johnny Sexton wasn't playing that day. He was a sideliner player. He was, wasn't playing in this match, but he was still giving the referee a bit of a mouthful at halftime. And this was lodged as a complaint last week. And there will be an independent disciplinary investigation into the incident. And there will be a hearing about it on 13th of July to see whether or not Johnny Sexton will be disciplined. So he might get fined for misconduct, for giving the referee a mouthful despite not even being a player on the field. And finally, the last bit of news is that there will be next year the Crusaders will be traveling to the Northern Hemisphere to play a few games in the we'll be playing for the first time ever club game rugby against Munster and the Bristol Bears. There's only two games confirmed at the moment, but there'll be a first ever international tour for the Crusaders. Bit funny how the dynasty for the Crusaders has just ended with Scott Robinson, because he'll be taking over the Crusaders next year. Sorry, the All Blacks next year, so he will not be coaching the Crusaders. And is Crusaders even going to be good next year after, losing the head coach, losing Richie Mwanga, Jack Goodhue, as we've seen, is already leaving. Sam Whitelock will be leaving. So is the Crusaders still going to be the dominant force that we've seen this year going into next year to this, to this mini tour, European tour for them? We don't know, but we have to wait and see. Funny how they've been talking about this for a number of years, and as soon as the head honcho Razor Robertson leaves the club as the head coach, this little tour decides to go ahead. Anyway, guys, Let me know your thoughts about the news today. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Let me know the predictions for the Springboks versus the Wallabies game. We will be doing a preview of this game when the Wallaby team is announced on Thursday. And yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Otherwise, I'll see you this weekend for the Rugby Championship. Thank you for watching.